Together with the international community, the United States has said that Iran should have access to peaceful nuclear energy, consistent with Iran's international obligations. So there is a way for Iran, if it is willing to take meaningful, verifiable steps, to assure the world that its nuclear program is, in fact, for peaceful purposes only.
Our guest is the national columnist for the Post-Examiner online newspaper chain, a three-time Pulitzer Prize nominee for international reporting, Washington correspondent for the Jerusalem Report magazine, which is published in Israel, also author of the Politically Incorrect Guide to the Middle East. Let's welcome Martin Sieff to MidPoint today. Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ed.
What sense does it make for the President of the United States and his people to go public and slap away at Benjamin Netanyahu and pretty much shame the man who is supposed to lead the country that we have the tightest bond with in the Middle East? It doesn't seem to make sense.
You're absolutely right. It's not sane behavior, Ed. It's insane behavior. It's very self-destructive. There's no secret to the fact that President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu do not get along, do not have a high opinion of each other. But over the previous 5-6 years that they've had to work together, they've managed to do so very constructively and competently whenever they had to do so. But now the President has thrown caution to the winds. We know why. There is a lot of anger and frustration in the White House, not just because the Prime Minister appealed to Congress and the American public above the head of the President on the Iran issue, but the Prime Minister's real sin was to be re-elected within the past week by a landslide vote. Likud now has 30 seats in the Israeli parliament, up from 18 in the previous parliament. The President and his national security staff talk all the time about supporting democracy, but they don't approve the democratic outcome of an election in one of our closest allies.
Is it possible that this could just be tactical arrogance and tactical posturing by the Obama administration in order to curry more favor with the Iranians?
It's worse than that. You're right, Ed. They are looking to curry favor with the Iranians, but they are ready to sell the entire Middle East down the river to do so. It's not just the Israelis that they're selling down the river. They're selling Saudi Arabia, Egypt down the river as well. The new king of Saudi Arabia, King Salman, has launched an unprecedented round of diplomacy and alliance building with Egypt, Turkey and Pakistan because he has lost all confidence in the United States government. The Saudis are as worried about the Iranians as the Israelis are, and for the same reason.
Let's hear from Benjamin Netanyahu. This was a discussion of the U.S. relations that they have right now, and it's interesting because, listen, I want everybody here to hear the first couple of words that Benjamin Netanyahu says here, because I think it tells us an awful lot. Here's the clip.
Because we have no other alternative. We're allies. We have to consult each other, not have fiats or unilateral imposition, but negotiated peace with our neighbors and support between allies. And America has no greater ally than Israel, and Israel has no greater ally than the United States.
Martin, is that simply where we have to go from this? We have no other alternative. The United States and Israel must work together. There is no choice.
We have a choice. You are correct, Ed. There is no other sane choice. Unfortunately, there are insane and very self-destructive choices, and the administration is moving towards them. And the dangers of that, not just for Israel, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for us, for the American people and American interests, enormous danger.
With regard, then, I got about a minute left, and speaking of Iran, the deal, now we hear that there's a late snag here, the Iranians talking specifically about the actual end result, the end game, if it will. Do you have any faith whatsoever that we will reach a deadline and there can be any deal struck with the Iranians that they will be happy with?
I think it is quite feasible that there will be a deal struck that they will be happy with, but that we will come to bitterly regret.
And with that bitter regret, are we then talking about, no matter how the president wants to slice this, we are looking at a continuation of war and even new wars in the Middle East to come?
Very definitely. The way to avoid wars is to maintain sanctions, maintain deterrence, and support our allies when there is a perception that not just Israel, but the Saudis, the Egyptians, even the Pakistanis are being sold down the river by us. This means war, not peace.
It is a time for allies indeed. The book, once again, is The Politically Incorrect Guide to the Middle East. Martin Sieff, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'll look forward to the next time we speak.
Me too, Ed. A pleasure.
Take care. There is another war now being brought to the front lines right back home, on and under American soil. Wait till you hear about this one. Break out the coal. MidPoint continues.